All right, since we're in the sort of like ding dong neighborhood, let's go see what Tim Pool is up to these days.
There's a homeless guy outside, and he's like, let me sleep in your house. And I'm like, no, you are causing my suffering. It is your fault. Then activists show up, and they're like, the only reason this man is suffering is because Tim Pool won't let him in his house. It's like, no, the dude is responsible for his own shelter, man.
To a point, but the French Revolution...
No, literally to period.
Well, but if there's a monarch that's hoarding all the materials so that the people are starving and suffering, it is the monarch's fault.
Why?
Because he's, by force, keeping them from their stuff. Or the stuff that their community has produced.
So can they, like, leave?
It depends.
Is the king, this is sort of fascinating. Like, I assume that what he was talking about was a hypothetical, that there haven't been activists out in front of his house or that a homeless person is there. But I love the fact that it's not quite obvious. Hey, wait a second. What if a monarch is hoarding all the resources? And I'm trying to think of like what would be a good analogy. Like, let's say that the income and wealth disparity was so large in this country that we could see it show up in data just on like how we tax wages and Social Security, where we would see like a significant percentage drop over how much money Social Security taxes capture. Or what if we saw somebody who had like the ability of like somebody who doesn't have a home or the ability to eat or pay for healthcare? Incidentally, healthcare now is the the top debt that is with collectors in the country. Our healthcare debt is twice what we had previously thought it was. And another person who had so much money, they were like, I want to take a trip in space and, complete with the whole space uniforms. I'll bring my brother and then I'll bring some other people who will give me some, maybe some cover and make it seem like what I'm doing is, in fact, I'm going to, just to tamp down any type of resentment of the fact that I have so much money that I got to waste it by going to space. I'm going to give away a couple $100 million to, some centrists who will make it look like I'm being charitable. I mean, that's an analogy to like the monarch being able to control those type of resources. And Tim Pool's like, what do you mean? And his poor co-host guy is trying to explain to Tim something that Tim could never understand. And here's where Tim, again, takes the analogy and gets sort of weird. Go back just a little bit.
Thankless task for this producer.
Oh, my God.
Hoarding all the materials so that the people are starving and suffering, it is the monarch's fault.
Why?
Because he's, by force, keeping them from their stuff. Or the stuff that their community has produced.
So can they, like, leave?
It depends. I mean,
is the king going, you can't even leave?
That actually is a good question, because where are you going to go? Are you going to go west?
Right.
You go in the middle of the woods.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that works with us.
My point is about Cuba.
Yeah.
Cuba's food problem is Cuba's problem. Cuba's medicine problem is Cuba's problem. There is no obligation from any other country to give to them.
Okay. Cuba's problem is not that countries are not giving to them. Cuba's problem is that it has been subjected in a world that is incredibly interconnected, in a world that all countries rely on trade. It's that it's been isolated by a massive power in the West. And in this instance, it is exactly like the analogy that Pool's producer provides for him. You have a power that is debilitating and is hoarding the resources and preventing, not just not giving, but preventing Cuba from getting resources. And we all know why this is happening. I mean, it's been going on for 70 years. It's not because it's effective. It is. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I like the Tim's producer when he says all that stuff that, you produced, he's hoarding it. And Tim says, why don't you just move? It's like, no, I was forced to build this bridge over this body of water. I would like to, like, participate in some of this community that I've built. I don't want to move to, Sherwood Forest, which I got to also point out, like, guess who owned that forest? A big part of Europe.
The monarch.
Like, the monarchs, they all divided that stuff up. That's my wood. You can't chop it. I'd read a little bit of early Marx, actually, because it's all about how you can't just go to the forest and cut your own timber anymore.
And where is it that Cuba is supposed to go when the most powerful country, certainly in the West, arguably in the world, is has an embargo where all of these resources are concentrated here, and refuse to trade with Cuba. And we all know why they're doing this. I mean, it's not why the United States is doing this. It's not because it's effective, and if you have this perspective of liberating the Cuban people, it's because they want there to be enough suffering so that the thing collapses in a cataclysmic way, not to promote democracy, but to promote those oligarchs who owned stuff on Cuba, 70 years ago, from their heirs to get that stuff back. It's basically what it is. They just go into the woods. Just go into the woods.
See, he thinks it's like Robin Hood, like the cartoon version.
He's also, somebody points out, Moon in the Lake says, "Can you leave?" Says the guy that is against accepting refugees. Like, where are you going to go? We're going to live on a garbage scow off the coast of of America. Hasn't quite thought these things through. Cuba's responsible for its own. Nobody's going to give them stuff. I mean, A, we should give Cuba aid. But B, we should also just allow Cuba to succeed or fail on its own without, imposing an embargo for 70 years. Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.